LAPD part of it, so they are allowed to get a little bit closer to in their airspace. Now Vinny's on the camera, he's doing what he can to keep an eye on it. Right now Adam's flying Skyfox, and we're basically climbing up to about 1,500, maybe 2,000 feet to cross over LAX, and then hopefully we can kind of join this pursuit again. We do know extremely high speeds at some points of this pursuit. That vehicle moving well probably into the 100-mile-an-hour on surface streets. We've been following along on the map trying to get down here as quickly as possible. Also, at some point during this chase in the Lenox area, that vehicle actually stopped at one point and handed something off to somebody. There was some sort of transaction with a woman that was waiting for that car, and then that woman, well, she kind of made her way 405 southbound. This is going to make it a little bit more difficult for Skyfox, but might be easier if he gets out of the LAX area. We can get right up on it. We can give you a traditional pursuit. But at any rate, that person that got that item that was handed off in the Lenox area, LAPD over there searching right now. Now you're starting to see some of those speeds that they were talking about, joining the 405 freeway southbound near the LAX area. Right now this pursuit continues, and we are getting that same information, Marla. This is a kidnapping suspect and armed, so they're not going to be doing any pit maneuvers to bring this thing to a stop, but they are trying to use spike strips and other techniques to try to get this vehicle to stop.
Okay, so this pursuit was first picked up in Inglewood. That's where we brought it to you live on those surface streets there right near LAX, and now southbound 405 with speeds well into the 90s that we saw. You say, Stu, earlier it was 100 miles per hour plus, and there you have it right there. You just mentioned, though, Stu, you just said kidnapping suspect. We were told burglary suspect. We also did hear on the scanners possibly a kidnapping suspect too, so we do need to get that confirmed. Either way, two people we are told are inside the Chevy Malibu, one said to have a gun, which makes this even more precarious.
Definitely, and the arms part is probably the most important right now. LAPD, whenever they have information that that suspect is armed, they are going to, everything is going to be heightened. That's the only way we can describe it. More intense, more heightened. When this thing comes to an end, they're not going to approach that vehicle. They're going to want to see this person do exactly what they need to do. And of course, if the gun is seen, that's just going to make everything extremely more tense. They won't do a pit maneuver, because if they do a pit maneuver, this person is armed and that vehicle can spin around. You know what? Skyfox getting a great shot. Thank you, Vinny. That is off through that windscreen right there. What we just saw was there is nobody in that front seat, the front passenger seat. Now that isn't saying that there isn't anybody in the back seat, but we only saw just the driver. This vehicle also involved in a minor collision earlier on during the pursuit. We thought it was going to come to an end, but apparently you see that vehicle still driving out here. Looks like we transitioned onto the 105 freeway, and we're making our way on the south side of the LAX area, and everybody knows 105 comes to an end out here. We'll see where this vehicle takes us.
And it also looks like we're dealing with tinted windows, so yes, we did have that clear shot thanks to Vinny so that we could see the driver, but no passenger right next to the suspect, so that means that the other person would likely be in the back seat, perhaps. Again, dealing with an armed burglary suspect, kidnapping. We've also heard that. We will work to get that confirmed one way or the other. The other thing, when we had a tight shot on this, as this driver continues on the 105 here, West Imperial Highway at this point, slowing down, is the fact that that's not a California plate. So this is a Chevy Malibu with Utah plate. So maybe the suspect is from out of town, or this is a rental. We don't know that just yet, Stu.
Well, we don't know about any of that for sure. We can tell you this vehicle running red lights back and forth. It basically hasn't slowed down for any traffic, anything at any time. I'm going to keep an eye outside, not looking at the camera right now. Vinny's going to try to find him, and I've got an eye on him right now. Yeah, he's down in the shadows, and then there's going to be the LAPD ship, and there is the suspect once again. This has been one of the issues, even for the helicopter, for the PD helicopter, great shot, is one of those ones where this vehicle has been going underneath bridges, been in the LAX traffic area, so it's been making it very difficult for them to keep an eye on it. Also, that helicopter and us today, luckily, we can listen to where they're going, and if the vehicles on the ground will give out directions if if the helicopter doesn't get an eye on him. There he is, just a little bit back. Let him come into your shot. There he is, right there. And so at any rate, this pursuit continues right now. The speeds have been pretty high. The danger level extremely high, as he's been running almost every traffic signal, and we'll keep an eye on it best we can. We heard that kidnapping part, but we also heard robbery, like you said. It looks like we're going to be going northbound through onto La Cienega right there. And again, this is an area right by LAX, making things a little bit difficult for Skyfox. But Vinny doing an awesome job on the camera today, and LAPD, they're going to have the same issues. The helicopter cannot follow, so the LAPD helicopter has to wait for a clearance, and maybe they'll be able to scoot through. But the ground crew, the ground units, the black and whites behind him, they don't have any problems with the LAX airspace.
All right, so currently in Inglewood, La Cienega Boulevard, the black and whites with those lights right behind, speeds nearing 70 miles per hour on surface streets. You mentioned, Stu, that earlier in this pursuit, again, started in the same area in Inglewood, that this vehicle was involved in a traffic collision. That was during the pursuit or prior to?
No, that was during the pursuit. At one point when we were making our way down here trying to find the location, we actually heard the LAPD airship say the vehicle has been involved in a collision. Basically, we heard it crash into a building. Now, when they say something like that, you get pictures of a very traumatic crash, but it seems like very minor damage to that car, so perhaps it was just some sort of minor. Look at that, there we go. There we go.
Oh,
that's going to bring it. And it didn't bring it to an end. Did not bring it to an end. That one vehicle right there is spinning out. So then this is what we don't want to ever see on any of these types of chases. That's just somebody just going about their business, driving along, and then this person is being chased by officers, cruise right through a red light, and doing it again right there. That's going to be the off-ramp for the 405. So this is the type of stuff that LAPD has to deal with, but the severity of the crime, meaning what this person is wanted for behind the wheel, that justifies the amount of force or the amount of aggressiveness they're going to try to get this person. Again, though, we saw that crash. You got to wonder, that car's got to have some front-end damage. We've got to wonder how long that car is going to be able to drive. Now making a turn, looks like they're going to be back on the Arva Vita. This is where we picked it up earlier on when we basically when we just went live, but heading back into the Inglewood area right now. LAPD working with Inglewood Police and also Airport Police, LAX Airport Police, this afternoon, trying to subdue this suspect running from officers.
Okay, so we just witnessed that T-bone collision, this suspect blowing through the intersection, an innocent driver minding their own business gets T-boned. So there's that traffic collision. That would be traffic collision number 2 as a part of this pursuit, but this is the first one that we have witnessed. Of course, we hope that that driver is okay. That was left back, and according to what I was watching here live with you at home, it happened at La Cienega Boulevard and West Century Boulevard. So obviously there are emergency crews responding to that intersection as we continue to watch this pursuit. This is currently at Red Fern and West 95th Street in the Inglewood area. Also interesting to note, and Stu, as the speeds are definitely backing off, which is good to see, that we had heard, and I'm not sure if you actually witnessed this, but during this pursuit, this suspect stopped, the armed suspect stopped. A woman approached the vehicle. There was some sort of a transaction, so the suspect handed off something to that woman, and then police were able to detain that woman at another location. So at least one person has been detained at this point. In the meantime, this pursuit, LAPD West Harbor Division is in hot pursuit of this Chevy Malibu. Inside, 2 people, 2 suspects said to be kidnapping and burglary suspects, and one has a gun. Stu.
Well, we're working just to keep the shot open. I wish folks at home would realize we're basically over LAX about 2,000 feet, 2,500 feet, and we're shooting quite a distance. Vinny doing an amazing job this afternoon just to get these shots. I couldn't even imagine how far away it is. I cannot even see it with the naked eye out the window. You can see the number of LAPD officers chasing this vehicle. We did see that one collision right there. You've got to wonder how long that car can go. with that front collision, you'd think possibly radiator damage, something along those lines. Maybe that car will start overheating. Usually we see a lot of times those car will give up before the suspect, but even in this case, if that car gives up, that suspect's still armed. This is a very dangerous situation. LAPD, they're not going to come just approaching that vehicle. It's going to be a long, drawn-out, very methodical way that they're going to try to get that suspect into custody. And I can tell you, all those officers on heightened type of tension, just keeping an eye on what that suspect's going to be doing. Again, armed robbery, possibly kidnapping, and we've seen many attempts. We saw that one accident. This person desperate to get away from officers, and again, the license plate on that car out of state. We know that for a fact. So you got to wonder what is going on here. Maybe there's other parts of this puzzle that we don't even know. But the pursuit continuing. You can see it. He's back on Arva Vita, heading back towards us. That's a relief. But we're not going to move until we know that he's farther out of the LAX airspace. Again, though, LAPD, their helicopters dealing with the same type of situation. They might have it a little better than us in the media, but they also have to deal with airspace and control out here. Look, there we go. This is what we saw earlier on. Somebody making contact with that suspect. You know one of those officers is going to try to, the third one basically pulling over. That person probably going to go into custody. That doesn't necessarily mean arrested, but there's something going on there. And of course, officers want to know what was handed off, why that person made an interaction, and it maybe might even be able to get some going wrong against traffic right now. Another red light. This is the type of stuff we definitely don't want to see in any type of pursuit.
All right, so essentially backtracking, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, backtracking. We're basically heading back the same direction where we lost, where he was in earlier on when he was getting farther away from us. Now getting a little bit closer, but nevertheless still quite a distance away. Again, LAPD doing an amazing job on the ground. Their helicopters basically dealing with kind of the same thing the media is, but those ground units right now today, they are the ones. They are the boots on the ground, as it would be. Really are the ones that are going out the streets out here, giving locations, and also getting other officers in the area. Another solid red. Look at this. At least he's blending in. Now he's heading down back towards LAX. LAPD's already been talking to the the Los Angeles International Airport Police Department. They have their own police department, so they have been made aware of this, and believe me, they will get involved if they have to, and especially if this vehicle makes its way onto airport property, which definitely looks like it's making that effort. Another solid red right there, swerving around, and he's making his way closer and closer down Century Boulevard, heading towards the terminals at LAX.
So we're on West Century Boulevard. Is the suspect heading back to La Cienega Boulevard? Is that the direction we're going?
No, he's heading. He's coming to LAX. He's coming closer and closer to Skyfox right now. Running into, looks like what was another. That might have been a green light right there. But definitely, you can see those speeds a little higher than he should be. Century Boulevard seems to be pretty open this afternoon, but he's making his way towards LAX.
Got it.
And LAX Airport Police, they have been made aware. There's a lot of parking garages out here, so they know that this guy is coming. And they've already set up a plan if he gets onto the airport to take this guy into custody any way they have to.
Okay, also hearing that it's actually from LAPD's Southwest Division, it is gang units in pursuit of this Chevy Malibu. And you mentioned the out-of-town, out-of-state plates. These are, in fact, Utah plates on this Malibu, as, yes, this is what happens when you get close to LAX, right? All that traffic, even during this COVID crisis that we're dealing with. Stu?
All that traffic. Gang units might have been the original ones that tried to stop this thing. Yeah, we're gonna have a little bit of an issue here. The gang units might have been the ones that tried to stop it originally, but I can tell you those are just Southwest units that are in pursuit. There might be a gang unit tagging along behind. I can tell you some good news. This is one of those little side streets that takes you around the airport. So it looks like we are not getting onto the LAX property, and you can see it right there. Northbound turn. We're going to be heading up Sepulveda right now, taking us into the Westchester neighborhoods. But again, LAPD right behind them, and of course that airship probably going to be making its way back over here. We'll probably have some coverage from that from the police helicopter as well. But those ground units today, those are the ones. Those are the staple. They're the ones that are really staying behind it. And this driver driving recklessly, a little bit of a swerve there. A lot of traffic on Sepulveda. I'm looking out the window, northbound lanes, maybe a little bit less traffic than the southbound, but still, you can see he's going to be getting into some traffic here. Hopefully he doesn't get blocked in, because this driver has been very desperate. We don't want to see him try to push other people out of the way, create more damage, and hopefully not hurt anybody this afternoon.
Okay, so here we are. This is right near Los Angeles International Airport. This is South Sepulveda Boulevard. If you're just joining us now that it's the top of the 2 o'clock hour, I'll fill you in on what we are watching here. Skyfox up and over, LAPD in pursuit of this Chevy Malibu. Inside, 2 suspects. We're hearing a burglary suspect, possibly a kidnapping suspect as well. We're also hearing that one of these suspects is armed with a gun. Now, since we've been up and over this as the driver makes a turn onto West Manchester Avenue from South Sepulveda Boulevard, speeds, we've seen these speeds upwards in the 90s, above 100 miles per hour. We haven't seen that in some time. We also witnessed a traffic collision, a T-bone accident through an intersection. This suspect hit an unsuspecting driver at La Cienega Boulevard and West Century Boulevard. That happened about 10 minutes ago or so. So we've seen at least one collision. We do know that the suspect is involved ultimately in 2 traffic collisions during this pursuit. At some point as well, now we are on La Tijera Boulevard. This is all thanks to our extreme nav technology as well. That at some point, a woman approached the vehicle. Once they were stopped, there was some sort of a transaction. That woman has since been detained, not necessarily arrested, as Stu made the differentiator earlier, made that clear that just because a police officer comes to talk to you, you are detained does not mean that you are under arrest. Okay, so Stu, we are a little bit further away from the airport at this point on Westchester Parkway, and I'll let you take it from here.
Well, actually, this vehicle basically made a big loop right there, made its way back onto Sepulveda, or one of the little offshoots of Sepulveda, and like you said, on Westchester. So he is relatively close to the airport once again. The speed's kind of slowed down, and it makes you wonder, though, if that's the vehicle or the driver. You know, I'm kind of hoping it is the vehicle, because I really would like to see that car just kind of poop out, just stop, as it would be, and then have the let the officers take that suspect into custody, do what they need to do. But right now, the vehicle continues to move. Traffic very, very light. This person's been very lucky with that. Went through another, that was a solid green out there, but you can see that car really starting to slow down right now. I don't know if this is maybe he's trying to make a decision on where to go, or maybe coming up with a plan, or maybe the car is really starting to slow down. LAPD, they are in pursuit. Like you said, gang units might have been the ones that originally initiated this pursuit, but those cars that we see right there, those are just your standard black and whites. Those are the officers, the patrol officers that we see pretty much everywhere on the streets. There we go again through another major out there. It looked like almost a close call, but this vehicle just continues to move out here, and now we're in the construction areas. Always got to, you know, they always say slow for the cone. You see those guys in their orange vests. Luckily, this vehicle not moving at 80 or 50 to 80 miles an hour. Now just kind of, well, the speedometer's broke, but at any rate, moving about 30 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour. So you just got to wonder, is it the car or the driver, and where's this going to end?
Right, because this Chevy Malibu has been involved in at least two traffic collisions during this pursuit. So that's what Stu was mentioning, that maybe it's just impaired enough that it just can't go any faster than it currently is. So as we work to get our extreme nav gauge up, we will continue to keep eyes on this, of course. So we're on Arbor Vitae Street, Arbor Vitae, pardon me, Arbor Vitae Street in the Inglewood area, and this is in fact, going against traffic.
Going against traffic, and this is what I'm talking about. I was worried about this.
These
just
innocent
kind of squeaking
drivers
through there. Yeah, and you know, you just don't want to see any damage to anybody's cars. That guy getting out of the way there, LAPD is going to basically have to catch up with him. But that car not moving. This is one of those spots where you think he'd really try to open it up, get that distance between him and those officers. That car might only be able to go that fast right now. Don't know what kind of damage it had. That was a pretty solid hit that we saw earlier on. It looks like he just avoided another collision right there, and that car looks like up, pan up. No, Oh, okay, sorry about that. There we go, making that turn. So he was in a parking lot earlier on. He was actually driving in a parking lot at a Costco, and officers were extremely worried about that situation. So with him driving into parking lots, that doesn't seem to be something that's not something that this person won't do. The reason why they were so concerned, you've got a lot of pedestrians out there, you've got a lot of people parking, backing out, again, and also a lot of activity. Right now, though, the pursuit definitely continuing out here. He gave me the slip, and now you're starting to see some smoke coming out of the car, so you really got to think that car probably has some kind of damage from that front-end collision. Hopefully, he doesn't crash again before this thing comes to an end.
So the suspect ultimately, Stu, just sticking in that same area, in the Inglewood area, because if you are just joining us, that's where this pursuit started, in Inglewood. We don't have a precise address, but nonetheless, we've just seen going in circles, essentially.
Yeah.
Oh, there's that smoke.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if that was the front wheel spinning out or from maybe he was hitting it too hard around the corner. Those Malibus, great cars, but definitely front wheel drive. So maybe that's what we saw right there. Definitely saw some smoke though coming out the back earlier on, but the speed's definitely picking up now. Back onto Manchester, Major Street out here, Inglewood area, takes you all the way through South LA. But we'll keep an eye on it best we can. If we have to move, we definitely will. You see some Inglewood officers down there. This just also shows you that the other departments know what's going on. They can monitor the same things. They can hear those officers from LAPD. They're getting those street names, and they're making themselves conveniently available, meaning they're just kind of in the area. If this thing does come to an end, they'll have extra officers there to help subdue the suspect. This is probably the longest we've seen this car driving basically eastbound now on Manchester, just kind of going farther and farther away from us. We'll keep an eye on it the best we can. If we have to move, we'll make those moves. But right now, that vehicle just doing a solid eastbound on Manchester. This will take you all the way past the 110 freeway. So this, he could stay, if he stays on this road, it could go for quite a while.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about strategy. Knowing that this person is armed, that makes this all the more dangerous, Stu. So, you know, we've seen pit maneuvers done, we've seen spike strips, and then you talk about working with other agencies and getting ahead of the suspect and sort of, you know, trying to, essentially get ahead of the suspect and make sure that you can bring this to a stop and do so as safely as possible.
Well, definitely, and I just heard the words Prairie, so I'm wondering if he just went through Prairie or he's going to be southbound. No, he went through Prairie. So this guy's getting a little bit farther and farther away from us. We can talk about the pursuit tactics, end of pursuit tactics, but I think we should be talking about if we should be moving Skyfox as this vehicle is getting farther and farther away from us. I said that. Adam's listening to me, and I guess he is making plans as we speak. So we're going to figure out how we're going to get behind this pursuit once again, as he's definitely making his way out of the LAX area, basically heading back towards the South Los Angeles area. And this is going to be a tough job for Vinny there. Hopefully he don't nose it over too far and we lose him and we have some trees. But definitely this pursuit continues. How are they going to handle it when it comes to an end, Marla? Well, you know, those guys are professionals. We are just the folks that watch, and we've seen a lot of these come to an end in the past. But basically, it's, you know, time is on the officer's side. That is a definite. So if that vehicle becomes disabled and that suspect doesn't want to get out of the car, that just gives the officers more time to get other equipment, maybe armored vehicles, other things like that, dogs, etc., into place, and they can make a better type of plan. But other than that, you know, that's if he gets out and he has that weapon, we're going to show some video. Go ahead. Yeah,
so what we're going to do is, while you are reworking Skyfox positioning here, because you are up and over LAX and you have to get out of that coveted airspace. Okay, so there is what we witnessed earlier. It was that T-bone crash right in the intersection of La Cienega Boulevard and West Century Boulevard in the Inglewood area. That happened about 20 minutes ago, where, you know, the driver's minding their own business and then gets hit by this suspect, this armed suspect. So that's one traffic collision that's happened. We do know that there was another accident where police said that the suspect crashed into a building obviously was able to get away, and we were re-racking that and queuing that up, and you just see the impact that happened there a little earlier ago. So I'm obviously hoping that that driver is okay. No question, damage to that car. As a result of that, Stu, we've seen the damage seemingly impair this suspect's ability to go really all that fast, because the speeds when we picked it up were in the 90s and even over 100 miles per hour. All right, I think that I'm on my own for some time as Sky Fox is maneuvering and working to get eyes again on the pursuit suspects. So here we are.
Sorry about that,
no
Mara.
Worries. Not at all. Not at all. Do your thing.
We actually can see it right now. We're making our way back over that way. We'll have eyes on it here in just a second or two. But yeah, the pursuit continues. Wrong side of the road now. On Florence near 76th Street. So he's back on a major, that's a for sure. And again, this is going to be one of those situations where driving on the wrong side of the road, extremely dangerous, but apparently the speeds have really slowed down. And again, that's going to be one of those things where I'm thinking that that's the vehicle, not that driver. And I've got to work with Vinny, and I got to get eyes on it. And we're going to find it here in just a second. We got some officers. An exact location, but we're still working to see if we can find it. There he is, right there. So going through another stale red, same puffs of smoke coming out of the vehicle, and basically making our way back over to the LAX area right now. We're continuing westbound on Florence Boulevard. So basically we're still getting back into the Inglewood area, and again this pursuit just continues. At one point apparently it was on the wrong side of the road, but the speed's about 50 miles an hour for the most part, and traffic extremely light. This is really amazing. And again, this is one of those situations where they're not going to use the pit maneuver. They're not going to try to spin this car around. There's an armed suspect, so they don't want to have that situation where officers are faced with an armed suspect. Going into the cone zone there, we got a pedestrian that's kind of shocked by what's going on. I'm positive that what we're seeing right there is just smoke from that front wheel. He's probably hammering it every time and spinning it out. But the pursuit continuing out here. And apparently the wheel just came off. That's what I'm hearing from Vinny.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep an eye on it. Or part of the tire. So definitely had a flat tire. Don't know if that's from a spike strip or possibly from the accident or damage, but definitely continuing on, or trying to continue on. This is going to be one of those situations. This driver, this suspect, extremely, he wants to get away at any cost. This is going to make it a very difficult ending for sure. You can see how this suspect doesn't want to be taken into custody at any cost, and just makes you kind of think what these officers are going to be up against when this thing comes to an end.
Right, you just don't know. So here we are on North Eucalyptus Avenue. This is still the Inglewood area, Stu.
Definitely the Inglewood area,
okay.
Back into Inglewood. And you can see it is very residential down there. And of course, the officers from LAPD, they're right behind it. I don't know, there's some other law enforcement right there, kind of wondering if they're there to assist or just happened to be in the area going through a major right there. That was back over, it was Manchester that we just went through. And so you can see that this guy's still driving extremely fast down there, or faster than he should be. That vehicle clearly heavily impaired, and LAPD right behind him right now this afternoon as this pursuit continues through the Inglewood streets. Armed suspect, possibly kidnapping, definitely robbery. And as you said, gang units were following this the suspect at one point, tried to pull him over, and that's when that pursuit started.
And we're also hearing that when we saw that smoke as this suspect was making his way through that construction zone, the cone zone as it's called, it was literally, he ran over a cone and that's what popped out from, right, so it wasn't necessarily the tire, but it was the cone. And I do want to thank everybody on social media right now who is relaying me information as well, as they can watch this as this happens. Certainly nothing to be made light of here, though, because this is such a very, very dangerous situation. This is South Eucalyptus Avenue in Inglewood, and it's that Chevy Malibu that has at least one suspect inside, kidnapping and burglary suspect. That's what we're hearing from LAPD. We're also hearing that this person has a gun, so an armed and dangerous situation. And this is, we've been on the air with this for about 30 minutes thus far. It's been involved in 2 traffic collisions, 2 crashes. We witnessed one of them, and here we go again. We're back on Arbor Vita Street.
Arbor Vita, back on Arbor Vita. You know, you just can't thank a lot of the internet folks enough that follow us watching. Hopefully, I know they're watching television and possibly have their Facebook open so that they can give us information and pass along what they seem to know about what's going on here. You can't get enough of that, I can guarantee you. Right now, you can see that we're still back on Arbor Vita. That car seems to be pretty solid, and I think one of our producers was actually telling me as well that that was a cone. You have to understand right now that the sun is coming down. We got a lot of glare inside the helicopter. It's hard to see these monitors, and I can tell you, I cannot see this pursuit out the window at all. So basically, everything that we're seeing right now is being brought to us by Vinny Mac in the back there on the camera, and just kind of keeping an eye on where this pursuit is, where it's going. But it does look like it's making its way southbound now, away from us, and as we're sitting here at the edge of the LAX airspace waiting to see if we can get cleared in. But I don't think they're going to allow it because of the number of aircraft that are taking off and landing this afternoon. LAX very busy, and of course those commercial jets get the priority for safety. Making his way, looks like we're heading a little bit eastbound, now back southbound again, definitely in a very residential neighborhood. You got to wonder, though, if this suspect, even though the plates are out of state, maybe knows this area. It seems to be very, very close to staying inside this area right here.
Well, okay, so here we are on Redfern Avenue, and I know this is a street that the suspect has been on before. We are hearing reports, this is not confirmed, that this, in fact, is where the suspect's family member lives. They've been in contact with this person, and this suspect is saying that the suspect, he or she, may pull over in front of that home and surrender. So that could happen.
There you go.
That could happen soon. This is not confirmed. Again, this is just some scanner chatter. So we'll wait to see if this, in fact, is the case. West 99th Street now, Stu.
Yep, West 99th Street, basically Redfern, it looked like turned into that street, so there's Redfern once again. So basically, and he's slowing down. This could possibly be the plan for that suspect. Make his way over to where family members are, feels a little bit safer, might feel like he has some, family at least there when he's taken into custody. Don't know. Can't say until we see this thing come to an end. But definitely slowing down, West 99th Street near Redfern, and it looks like he's almost looking for a place to pull over. And there you go, the vehicle definitely stopped, and we'll keep an eye on it the best we can. This is the best shot we can get this afternoon. We're quite a distance away. Got close to 8 or 9 miles away from our helicopter. So, and this is one of the reasons, again, is because of the LAX airspace. We can't get in there. We can't get any closer. But the vehicle clearly has stopped. LAPD out there. We can't see them because of the trees, but I can guarantee you they're probably out of their vehicles, guns drawn, and giving some sort of commands to that driver. And I don't see any family members yet, but that doesn't mean that they're not standing on the sidewalk or nearby that vehicle.
Right, so because of the shaded area and the circumstances that this is happening, it is hard to get a clear look, but so far I haven't seen any movement from the vehicle. I haven't seen the suspect get out one way or the other. You can see a little activity behind with the black and whites that have been behind. They're obviously stopped, and as you say, they would be out with their guns drawn. Instructing the suspect to do as they say. That means to turn your back to them, hands in the air, to get down, usually sprawled out on the ground, and then that's when they can take them into custody, officially cuff them, and call a code 4. So, you know, this is such a scary, intense moment always for officers, because you don't know, knowing that, in fact, that this suspect is said to be armed, how they will react.
No, definitely, and you saw how desperate this suspect was to get away from officers for most of this pursuit. A couple of collisions, running a lot of red lights, damage to the vehicle, still continuing on, wrong side of the road, high speeds, slow speeds, but definitely trying to get away from officers the entire time, desperately. So you've got to wonder what this suspect, what other things the suspect may have done, or what other things he might have that legal infractions. So right now the officers, it's like I said, as long as that vehicle is kind of sitting there, it's going to be a wait game. But the fact that that car drove to this location and stopped, that always means that that car could drive away. So officers right now, it is still a waiting game, but it's a waiting game to see if that suspect gives up or decides to drive on.
Yeah, you make a good point. We've seen that plenty of times where you think, oh, it's finally coming to an end, only for the suspect to take off. But you would have to assume that they've coordinated here, Stu, and officers would have essentially boxed them in with officers on the other side of the street. This, by the way, the official location is...
Yeah, no, Marla, they definitely wouldn't try to box this suspect in. He's an armed suspect. That's one of the reasons why they wouldn't pit him. You know, this guy has a weapon, so they're not going to do anything where they're going to box this person in or make it. The officers call that line of fire. You don't want to be in the line of fire. You don't want to be in a place where that suspect can shoot at you. So basically, right now they're all behind him, and I can tell you that most of those officers, even though we can't see them, they all have their weapons drawn, and it is a little bit of a waiting game. I don't see any other movement in the area, so I can't say if this is the family home, if there are family members nearby, and even if they are, it would be difficult. It would be a difficult call. This is one of the reasons why I sit in a helicopter and talk about it, and I'm not on the ground in a uniform. How are they going to handle that? You know, if a family member wants to go up and talk to this armed suspect, you can't allow that. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know where it's going to go. And so it is a difficult situation for sure for those officers. Right now, though, it's a waiting game. And we'll see if that car keeps moving, if that suspect just complies. All
right. Well, the extreme nav technology that we had up with a location, it did say this was West 99th Avenue and Inglewood Avenue. So that is where this is happening. This pursuit seemingly coming to an end. It's been underway for about an hour almost. We've been on the air with it for about 40 minutes here, and we can tell you that there is an armed suspect, an armed burglary and potentially kidnapping suspect inside the Chevy Malibu with plates from Utah, with Utah plates here. And we are hearing from police that this is the suspect's sister's home. So this is obviously the suspect was in touch with his sister perhaps, and then decided to make a stop here, and maybe they can coax him to come out and to bring this to a peaceful end. And I say peaceful in that knowing that the suspect is armed, number one, and then also this was not a peaceful pursuit, if I can say that, meaning this suspect did cause at least 2 accidents along the way that we saw. Stu.
Definitely, yeah, definitely 2 accidents. That one involving that driver just going through the intersection, and that suspect T-boning a vehicle and spinning them out. Hope that they are okay for sure. Right now, though, again, this is an Inglewood neighborhood. We see the West 99th Street. We also know it's near Redfern, is probably the cross street out here. LAPD, they are behind it, and yes, they are working to maybe try to do something to disable that vehicle if that vehicle decides to drive off. These streets very narrow. They could put spike strips out. They could They could do a lot of things like that. We don't have any kind of solid confirmation, but that might be something that LAPD might be doing to, in case this vehicle starts to drive off again, at least they can take out a couple of the tires, maybe disabling that vehicle and bringing this to an end somewhere close by. Right now, though, wait and see. That seems to be the name of the game. Like you said, we didn't have that information, but a family member, possibly the sister, lives out in this area. We haven't seen anybody approach that vehicle, but it's like I said earlier, I don't think LAPD would allow anybody to approach that vehicle. This is an armed suspect. You don't know if their intention is to say hello to the sister or to cause harm to the sister. You just don't know. And at this point, it would be putting somebody's life in danger. So it's a tough call. It's a tough call indeed for the LAPD officers on the ground down there.
Okay, so this pursuit stopped, no longer in pursuit, but essentially now we're in a standoff mode, though, Stu.
Very much a standoff. Vinny's pointed it out. It looks like the windshield wipers are on the car. At first, I thought it was, I thought maybe it was just the wind or shadows, but it definitely looks like the wipers are on. I wonder, maybe the car did just kind of give out, and this is the spot where it stopped. And if that's the case, then like I said earlier, this is a big plus for LAPD. They are going to be able to get their ducks in a row. They're going to be able to make plans. They're going to be able to put their officers in positions where they'll be able to take this person into custody if it need be. But right now, basically a standoff in a neighborhood out here in Inglewood. Crazy pursuit. Now it turned into a wait and see type of game.
Right, and you say crazy pursuit, so let's cue up some of the video that we caught earlier. Yep, so this is when the suspect was making some dangerous maneuvers through a construction zone, a cone zone. We saw that happen multiple times, endangering those work crews and the other vehicles on the road at this hour and this afternoon. So here the suspect is earlier precariously making his way through that. Then also you're going to see here sort of threading the needle through traffic because he's boxed in by, here we go, take a look at this, boxed in by at this intersection where there's a red light and he's trying to get to the other side. And he just makes his way. We can't tell if there's any contact. It doesn't necessarily look like it, but that innocent driver then, you know, puts it into reverse, tries to get out of the way of law enforcement. So, yeah, there were definitely some close calls. And then beyond that, yes, we did witness a crash at an intersection. That happened specifically at La Cienega Boulevard and West Century Boulevard early on in this pursuit as well. And we know that there was absolutely damage to both the suspect's vehicle and then also the innocent driver's vehicle. We don't know the condition of that driver involved in that T-bone collision earlier. So here we are. You did point out, and we can see it too, that those windshield wipers are going. So is that a result of the damage that this vehicle endured?
It could be. It could be indeed. And, you know, the word standoff, this is one of those deals, basically non-compliant. How do you want to word it? If this isn't a standoff, what else could you possibly call it? This suspect being very defiant, not getting out of the vehicle. So, and officers from LAPD, they're putting plans into action if that vehicle starts moving again. So, but right now it is basically, it's a suspect in a vehicle that's refusing to get out, and officers are waiting for him to get out or giving him directions to. I would call that a standoff. But at any rate, this is happening out here in the Inglewood area. That suspect's vehicle, we're seeing it at quite a distance. It's probably about 7 miles away from our helicopter, and the reason being, for anybody that's just tuning in, is that they are very much entrenched into the LAX airspace, and we are not allowed to get any closer because of the jets taking off and landing at LAX. The officers from LAPD, if they're off to the right, there's some trees right there, but there's a number of officers right there. And then there are other black and white vehicles, LAPD officers nearby. And of course, Inglewood PD made aware of this situation as well. It is a very residential neighborhood for sure. We haven't seen anybody come out of any of the houses or try to make any kind of approach to that vehicle. That doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but we just haven't been able to see it because of the distance and the trees and our angle from the helicopter this afternoon.
All right, well, let's show the folks at home the crash that happened that I was just describing. So here we are, the suspect approaching La Cienega and West Century Boulevard and just T-bones that unsuspecting driver there, innocent driver. So yeah, absolutely there was damage to both vehicles there. So as we are in this sort of a standoff mode here, Stu, in Inglewood, West 99th Street and South Inglewood Avenue, you know what we're going to do? We will continue to monitor this. We are going to wrap this up for now, but we will be able to, you'll be able to continue watching this, I believe, on our Facebook page. The other thing is it's 2:30 in the afternoon. We are back on the air at 3 o'clock because of Thursday night football. Our Fox 11 News at 5 is at 3 o'clock. So we're less than 30 minutes away. And so we will continue to monitor this, and we will absolutely bring you the outcome of that at the top of the hour at 3 o'clock. If, in fact, the suspect surrenders before 3 o'clock. Otherwise, we will just rejoin this coverage with Stu Mundell up there in Sky Fox. Okay, so for now, Stu, thank you so much for your coverage of this. And you at home, thank you for watching. I'm Marla Tejas in the Fox 11 newsroom. We'll see you back here at the top of the hour.
All right.
Here we go.
Let's take a look at the 5 answers for this round. You have, as you know, 45 seconds to get your teammates to guess all 5 using as few clue words as possible. You're going to bid against each other. You know how this works until one of you says, okay, I'm done. I'm going to set the opening bid at 23 words. And Raven,
I'm ready.
Can you do it in
Let's do this in 21. 21.
21, Joel.
All right, Meredith Vieira.
Yes.
19.
Mr. McHale.
19.
Ooh. 9, with anger, with a little anger, a little aggression.
Yeah.
I'm going to take it all the way down to 13.
Oh.
Great. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Because Raven's very good. So,
Yes.
Raven's Simone. And so I'm going to do 12.